How can we now connect our backend to the MongoDB database? By using Mongoose. We saw with MongoDB this was a bit cumbersome, I would say, because each time we created a new product, we had to use the Mongo client, we had to use the connect method to set up the connection, and in the end we had to close the connection once again. Now Mongoose works a bit different here. Mongoose only requires one specific method, and I will add this method up here. And we simply use our Mongoose library once again, so the imported package, and here we refer to the connect method now. The connect method holds one thing, and this one thing are again our credentials that we stored here in this URL, so we can copy and paste this information here and pass it into the connect method. And this now manages the entire connection between our backend and the MongoDB database. So we don't have to open a new connection and close it each time we create a new product. This is all managed by Mongoose, and without diving too much into the details, Mongoose uses a concept named connection pooling. So Mongoose actually opens some connections here and manage these actively to make sure we can always have a, very efficient connection between our database and the backend. But in contrast to MongoDB, so without Mongoose, I would say that this is a lot more convenient. Besides managing the connection between our backend and the database, Connect also returns a promise. So we can also add then here to, for example, console log that we are connected to the database here. And we can also add catch to, catch any potential errors. Now that's of course not the only error handling logic you might implement here, but things can go wrong when we try to connect to the database. Therefore, we can use catch here to console log that our connection failed in case things go wrong. So that's also a nice thing to know about the connect method here. Talking about error handling, by the way, here in our Mongo.js file, we use try catch to make sure that we catch any potential errors. We could also implement this then when we work with Mongoose, of course. I'll skip this as part of this refresher, as I want to focus onto the plain logic of Mongoose here. We'll of course implement it later in the next module when we use Mongoose as part of our course project. So the connection is established, but how can we now finally create the product and store the document in the database? Well, for that we have to save the new product, right? And before with the MongoDB driver, this was not the most convenient approach, as we had to refer to the database, we had to refer to the collection, then tell MongoDB that we want to insert one document, and so on. So we had again some things to keep in mind. Now with Mongoose, this works a bit different because, as I said already, Mongoose is a helper here. The only thing we have to do right here is we could create a new constant, maybe named result. And this constant refers to our created product, so the newly created product that we want to store in our database. And now we can use the save method. The save method is a method provided by Mongoose, and it's a method which can be used in connection with the corresponding models and schemas that you created in Mongoose. So here with our product model, for example. That's also one of the reasons why we're using the model right here. Otherwise, we could just use a normal JavaScript object, but with the model, we have access to this save method. And the awesome thing about the save method is that this method does all the heavy lifting that is required to save a document behind the scenes. So we don't have to worry about all the things I just talked about. So for example, about insert one. Saving does all the things we need. It refers to the right database up here specified in our credentials. It refers to the right collection. The collection is the name here, as I said, the first argument in our model method. So the collection name will be products, plural form with a small p. And, saving will just save that new document, that new product. As connect up here, save also returns a promise. Therefore, this is an asynchronous task, so we have to add a wait here. Again, this makes sense. Said that before. Interactions with the database can take a few moments. Therefore, we have an asynchronous task at this stage. And the promise in the end yields the saved product. So this means the document inserted into the database, which then is stored in the result constant. And also, as mentioned before, handling errors here would possible with try catch, for example. At this part of the course, I'll not focus onto this here. Therefore, as we now stored the document, What's missing is the response. So the response could be of type JSON. And here we simply want to give back our result. Now we only have to make sure that we can use our model, so our whole Mongoose logic, in the app.js file, because at the moment we still refer to our Mongo file right here, so Mongo.js. Therefore, we should change this to our Mongoose file. Again, we can omit the file extension. What's missing at the moment is our get logic here. So let's comment this out for a moment. We'll implement this in the next lecture. So saving this and now running npm start to bring back our development server. This looks good. Let's now go back to MongoDB Atlas first, here to our collections, because I want to delete our database that we have at the moment to make sure we see that Mongoose really handles all this for us now. So let's delete products test right here. Oops, products test, not product. So we now drop the database, so our collection should be empty again. Okay, now let's go to Postman and create a new post request to localhost 3000/products. And here body, raw, and JSON. And now we need to provide the name of the product again. So as we did it before when we used the MongoDB driver, let's say an apple, and the price should be again 0.99. So let's send this post request. And this looks really fine. We have the apple and the price. Again, we have the automatically created ID. As I said, this is something we'll have a look at in a separate video towards the end of this module. And if we now check out our database and we load it, we see we again got the database. So this was automatically created by Mongoose. We got the corresponding collection, and inside the collection, we also got our document. And with that, we achieved a lot already. We now switched our entire test project here to Mongoose. We used a schema and a model, and we are now using this model already to interact with our database, and here, for example, to create new documents. Let's now use Mongoose to also get documents from our database.